And I know you've also been in New York and in Miami. What impressions have you gotten throughout your reporting here in Atlanta?
As you mentioned, this is my third indictment that I'm now covering, and what really strikes me as different about this one is the sweeping nature of this case. Not only is it Donald Trump, but several other co-conspirators who allegedly worked with him to overturn the results of the Georgia election are being brought in one by one to the jail we see behind us, being processed, having their mugshots taken, and now, as you said, we're awaiting the person who prosecutors say led them in all of this activity, Donald Trump himself.
Yeah, of course, this being a RICO case, which is one of these statutes that's usually used for criminal activity for gangs or even the mafia, Donald Trump is allegedly, within this case, the ringleader of a criminal conspiracy to overturn the 2020 election. That's the key charge in this case here in Atlanta. In terms of what we can expect when the former president actually arrives, we do believe that he'll be using this entrance here. This is typically reserved for VIP defendants as they arrive. What can we expect, and what can Donald Trump expect when he walks through the doors of this jail?
So there are going to be a few things that are similar to what we've seen for Trump in other appearances. He is getting a special treatment. Oftentimes, he is being escorted in very quickly by Secret Service directly from his private plane. He is usually led into a separate room, not near the general population. He is fingerprinted. He's had his height taken, his name, and then usually whisked right back out by security. This time might be different, however, because unlike in other scenarios where Trump has avoided having a mugshot taken, this time we might actually see him mugshotted. His co-defendants have been getting mugshots, and this time we may actually have an image of Trump himself from within the jail.
And that's been really striking to see. And Sumi, I know that we've been bringing these mugshots, these photos to people as soon as they come up. And actually, the process has been even faster than what we were expecting. But so far, every defendant that has come through the jail, we've seen a mugshot taken. We don't have confirmation yet whether or not Donald Trump will have his mugshot taken, but every indication is, in fact, from the sheriff of the county himself. He said he wants to treat all of these defendants the way that he would treat anybody that walked through those doors. With that mugshot, this is obviously highly anticipated. What could be the political effect of having that really striking image, the very first mugshot ever of a president or former president?
Well, I mean, there's going to be two very different reactions, I think, for Democrats and detractors of President Trump who may have already made up their mind about his guilt or innocence. Seeing a mugshot of him will feel like vindication. They already believe that he is guilty of these crimes. We're likely to see Democrats using this in the next presidential election to attack Donald Trump over these indictments. Now, on the flip side, for Donald Trump himself, obviously having a mugshot taken of yourself is not generally considered a good thing. But we know that Donald Trump has gotten a boost in support from the Republican base every time he's been indicted. We know that he's fundraised millions off of each of these indictments. It's actually helped solidify his standing in the Republican field as he runs for president again. And so what we could see him doing is trying to make the most of this situation. We don't know yet, but we could see him actually using this to say, look at what they've done to me. The system is rigged. The justice system is coming after me. They can come after you. We could see him using it to essentially portray himself as a martyr to his supporters as he tries to return to the White House next year.
And even before his arrival, we've already seen an email being sent out by his campaign using today's appearance at the jail as a way to raise money for his campaign and likely for his legal fees as well. Now, I know, Kayla, you've been covering here in Atlanta not just the legal aspects of this case, but also this particular jail behind us, because this jail, the Fulton County Jail, is notorious. I mean, what have you found out in terms of your research into what goes on behind those doors?
Yes, my colleague Madeline Halpert and I have reported on the conditions inside the Fulton County Jail. And we just talked a couple minutes ago about how Trump will be treated like everyone else, but really at this facility, he won't be. Here, the Justice Department is actually investigating the conditions here. They are looking into reports that there are inhumane conditions, that people are getting very sick, that people are dying here. Just recently, a 19-year-old girl who is being held here died at this facility. We know that many defendants wait weeks, months, even in some extreme cases, years to get out. They wait for trial here. They often can't post bond like Donald Trump and his co-defendants have been able to do, so they're sitting and waiting. And really, I think a lot of people in Atlanta, particularly criminal defense attorneys, have used this situation to highlight the conditions that normal people do have to face here, the dangerous and often deadly conditions.
Now, we also got a bit of an update today. October 23rd was a date that was being thrown around. What we know about that date so far is that one of the defendants in the case, Kenneth Chesbro, had requested a speedy trial, and now we have confirmation that just his trial, right, will be tried in a speedy manner. Just tell us more about that date and the significance.
Right, and to step back a little, this is a racketeering case. There are a lot of co-defendants. Each one has their own lawyer, and their lawyers are trying to get their client the best deal possible. So what we're seeing is people making different legal maneuvers to sort of peel themselves off from the main case, to press the prosecutor's hand, to try and test them and say, okay, like, do you want to go to trial now? Like, can we do this now? And, so far the prosecutor said, sure, if you want to. So as you mentioned, Kenneth Chesbro has said that, he wants a speedy trial, which he is entitled to under Georgia law. That would move up the date for his trial. And so a judge has said, sure, you might be able to have this. However, that doesn't necessarily apply to Donald Trump. It doesn't necessarily apply to people like Rudy Giuliani, Mark Meadows, the other high-profile people we're seeing. And as lawyers file motions and the prosecution pushes back and the judge makes decisions over the next several weeks and months, we're going to have the timeline changing.
So we'll see what the timeline will be. We know the timeline set for at least one defendant, Kenneth Chesbro. We just have 15 seconds, but Henry, if you want to just come up here, actually, I just want to show you, because we're seeing the lineup of media here, everyone moving towards this barrier. You can see the police in the street as well. We are expecting an imminent arrival of Donald Trump, and we'll send it back to you.
All right, thank you, Paul. Welcome to our ongoing coverage of Donald Trump's upcoming surrender to authorities in Georgia. These are live pictures.